when I was talking to you guys about BRICS, I think if China is going to try to do anything, it's going to be financially through organizations like BRICS. You know, like they're not gonna like try to go in and literally invade Alberta. You know,
Chinese birthday babies.
And also because of the Commonwealth issue question, if anybody enters Canada illegally, then probably then the UK, Australia, New Zealand will have to get involved as well.
I see it. I see it kind of like that whole, like we were talking about patriotism, and or you guys were, and when I hear stuff like that, it reminds me of like here in the United States back in the '80s and the '90s with stuff like Invasion USA or Red Dawn. There's going to be this freaking invasion from China through Canada down into the western coast, and
the logistics of that would be next to impossible.
Yeah,
that would be to move that many million that you would need, and even the Japanese in World War II were never even thinking of a mainland invasion. Too big. I mean, it's just way too big.
You are a fan of the Bethesda Fallout series, weren't you? And you remember the backstory on that series of games?
I never played them.
China into Alaska, and then the US went into Canada to.
The game was actually coincidentally created in like 1982. 1980.
No, actually, it was later, wasn't it? It was the first game 89.
89, yes.
Maybe. 91, maybe.
Yep. And everything was themed off of it's kind of like a what if everything was all corporation and it was all rotated around the oil companies and stuff. So it's not really our world, but it's like an alternate world.
Yeah, with a sort of 1950s sort of retro, sort of futurism, sort of.
Yeah, I think I've seen that's it's interesting when we're talking about patriotism and nationalism and changing outlooks on things. And I think we have seen some changes, because this idea of patriotism that's relatively new. I mean, if we come out of basically the Roman Empire collapse, the establishment of feudal traditions in order to maintain military structures, and I've said this before, when John went over from England over to France, he wasn't an Englishman going to France. He was an Angevin monarch, and they were all his land. And he didn't care what side of the channel it was on. He didn't care about what, the region, the ethnicity, the language was less important. You probably spoke Latin or French anyway. You didn't care what anybody else spoke, because this was your property here and there. You didn't think Englishmen and Frenchmen and this and that. But there became an awareness, and a lot of this came with these ideas that, that were basically people throwing off. It was bourgeoisie, because they were suddenly becoming the important people in society. They controlled the money, they controlled the trade. Suddenly the royals owed them money. Suddenly, just because you were Sir so-and-so and you had all this land and you provided so many men-at-arms to the king, that used to be power, and you could grow your food. Now you needed money to pay the taxes. The king didn't want men anymore. He needed scutage, he needed payment, because he had things he had to pay for. So suddenly the people with the money and the businesses, the intelligent people that were keeping accounts, they were important, and they weren't royal. Their passport, though, they were very proud of being a burgher of this city, in this country, in this land, and they were more in touch. They were a Frenchman or an Englishman. They weren't just somebody who saw themselves as just nobility of Christendom, and which was all of Europe kind of deal. That was more, I think, the identity of the ruling class. So I think it was with a new way society was being organized, a new way it was growing. You had a growing sense of being French or being English or Belgian or Italian or whatever. Italy, especially, that was many, many states. I mean, from Roman times up till the 19th century, and that wasn't even technically settled until the Concordat with the Pope, which was what, 1930 or something. But now people do think of themselves as Italians, although the Italians I've met seem really more concerned with their what part of Italy they come from than somebody is Tuscan or Sicilian or whatever before they're anything else.
When it comes to like Italy, I always I use Florence as a really good example because that really captures the idea of what republics really are. Like you can talk about the Roman Republic and all that if you want to, but when you get more specific, you can start talking about Florence. That's where it really starts showing. You know what I mean? And like today in the United States, everybody's real big on talking about we're a republic.
Right?
They don't really understand what a republic really is. You know what I mean? That's actually, it originated from some really, really cutthroat politics. Like people died.
I don't know that they even defined it at all like the way we do. I think the Latin, it was like the Roman Republic. It was called Res Publica, and it just meant the government, the way we do it. It just, and they did it however their power exerted itself. But before I forget, what I was going to say was just like we kind of changed to having these political ideas of ourselves, these patriotic ideas, the ideas that we're part of a nation. Now we're seeing a change again. And maybe it's because the people in power now, the people with all the wealth, arguably still the bourgeoisie under a technical definition of the owners of the means of production and distribution, but people that wield more power than individual nation states. They don't see themselves as a citizen of any particular country. They often have multiple citizenships, half a dozen passports, and can defy governments, and we've seen that today, or even become governments. So this is moving, away from traditional ideas of patriotism that we had before. I'm not sure where it's going to go. I do see tribalization. People are getting more and more in a world where there's nothing. I mean, if it's just all one world, then it means that it's there's nothing to do but turn inward. If you're told you can't have allegiance to anything but the whole world, well, that's not really much to have allegiance to. The world is big, and that we can't emotionally, really, most of us get all worked up about humanity with a big H. But we have our friends, we have our loved ones, we have the things that ignite our hearts, we have the things that drive us to accomplish. We have the agon, if you like, the struggle to achieve what we want to achieve, and the friends that we do this with. And these are the communities we start making, and you can call it tribalism if you like, but it's affinities. And for the first time in history, we don't have to be in the same village. We don't, although we all have jobs of one sort or another for the most part, we don't have to go out and fight off a neighboring tribe or go, just sweat in the sun all day hoping to harvest enough food to get me through the winter. We can get together and do these things. So anyway, that was my rant.
That's a good one. I mean, and the one thing when you said that, it reminds me of something earlier on when I started getting into all this stuff. I did research on like the globalist citizen, basically, is what they used to refer to him as, and it's really amazing when you look at that stuff, because like a lot of these people that everybody calls elites, they don't understand that they aren't loyal to a certain government. Like these are people who live in multiple countries. They actually live on a trust fund that's endless. You know what I mean? From the heirs of a dynasty that goes back all the way into the 1400s.
Right.
And they
did nothing to create that wealth. They just spend it.
Right. And they don't even have their own properties. A lot of people that I'm talking about who like own who are in England, okay? They live out of these old castles that are ran by freaking these organizations that are supposed to keep them restored and up to date.
National Trust or something?
Yeah. And these people just they can move from place to place anywhere they want. They don't have to rent property, own property, nothing. And they live off of a trust fund that was handed down to them from God knows who.
Talk about grandfather then, huh?
Mm-hmm. And that's what really amazed me is by that. And then I, when you guys start talking about slavery and stuff, it's interesting because and I've gotten a lot of flack from this, and but it's actually true. Okay, it's like you take a look at these people who are freaking just disgustingly rich. Okay, for them to keep their money from those trust funds, they have to follow a certain amount of rules. They can't go out of bounds when it comes to that. So they have to follow these rules in order to stay rich. I found that interesting, and it's like if you take and you look at if you take and you look at housing authorities, the ones that take care of the neighborhoods and make sure that they stay, that they're doing the same exact thing as what a person in the projects has to do. They have to follow rules and guidelines.
Huh.
You see, so
you've got to follow rules. How's society breaks down?
I can move to the country, buy a house, live life the way I want to live. Nobody tells me what color my house has to be. If I mow a yard,
obviously those are always petty. But
that's the way. That's the way they.
But rules such as you aren't going to go into the next door neighbour's house and rob them, or cafe next door's ox or something.
That's different. I mean, this is something I mean, literally, like these housing authorities and these freaking neighborhood. I forgot what they call them, but they're community organizations that watch over freaking the neighborhood. It's like they have their own little organization, and that's how they all do it. It's the same thing. It's just on two different sides of the spectrums. One
much more US sort of fun.
No, it's happening everywhere, Mark. You guys have them. You guys have them in England too. It's actually everywhere.
Bob's been real quiet. Do you have any comments, Bob, you feel like making, or a new subject you want us to cover? Or
he's probably eating like I am, or did. I had a cheeseburger, or not cheese. I keep calling them just hamburgers and stuff. So.
My buddy.
Sorry. It took me a while to find the right button to click.
Oh.
What do I want to say? I want to say that I think that nationalism is very important, but it needs to occur within a type of tolerance, a type of globalism. I think that humanity is one species, and we need each other. We all have little bits of the truth and ways of looking at the world that are helpful. And each culture, even cultures that are aggressive and intolerant towards us, even those cultures offer us stuff, even if it is just to be less arrogant by accepting somebody else's point of view. But we're very different. One of the things that I like to say about anarchy, because I'm hardcore into anarchy, but the only really legitimate unit of governance in an anarchy is a person. Each person needs to govern himself. He has no right to govern another person. So we make these little communities of people who can put up with us and put up with our faults and our whatever.